Chapter 7, Part 4, Notes Receivable. So notes receivable, we can have a notes receivable with, remember, interest accrues over time, a discounted note, interest deducted at the beginning, and a zero interest note means that interest is implied. So let's go through some examples. Now, what if you sold $100,000 worth of goods exchanged for a 6-month 12% note? So you put the notes receivable in sales, and then you would accrue at the end of the year for 5 months. And then when the note is actually paid, we would indicate the balance of the interest, take off the interest receivable, the notes receivable, and show the cash. Now let's look at a discounted note. You have to remember that you deduct the interest at the beginning. So sales revenue is only going to be 94. And then we're going to amortize it the same. But when you receive the cash, you're only going to receive $100,000. Now, what about non-interest-bearing long-term notes? And in this first example, in December 2024, we have services accepting $50,000 down and agreeing to accept the balance of $90,000 at the end of 2027. So how are we going to come up with what the interest is? We're going to use the present value factor of a single sum because $90,000, one amount, is paid at the end of the 3 years. So we go and get our factor for our present value table. We go, I think it's across 12% and then down 3 periods. So that tells us the present value of the 90,000 plus the 50 tells us the amount we can capitalize for this service. So we have cash, notes receivable, service revenue. That's how much we can record as revenue, and the balance is going to be interest, and it's going to be in the category discounted notes receivable because that's where it stays until we start collecting it. So we'll go to our amortization table. Now, the carrying amount of the note is always going to be the face of the note minus the discount amount on the books. So we start off at $64,060. Then we're going to take that times 12%, and that's going to be how much interest revenue we book. We're going to add that to the previous balance, and now we have a balance of $71,747. We're going to take that times 12% to get our next year's interest, and then we're going to do the same thing for the last year's interest. Remember, interest revenue is going to go up because the net value of the note is going up as you're writing off the discount. So you start with $25,940 and you're slowly decreasing it until both accounts, when it's paid, equal 0. And remember, when you use the effective rate, every interest revenue is different. So in this case, this is what we booked for the first year. Here's our second year. Here's our third year. We get our cash, notes receivable, and we book our last amount of interest revenue. And our discount on notes and notes receivable count should be now at 0. Now, what if instead we have a non-interest bearing note? And in this example right here, we are going to get $50,000 and then they're going to pay us $30,000 at the end of each year. This means we're going to have to use a factor as an ordinary annuity from tables. So we're going to go to our ordinary annuity and get the factor. That's 12% for 3 periods. Now, if you notice, the total amount is higher. Why? Because we're getting the cash sooner. We're not having to wait for a whole 3 years to get any money. So it's going to be cash, notes receivable, service revenue, and then discount on notes receivable, which is going to be your interest revenue. So now we're going to go through the process again. And that's what we're going to put on the books initially. And there's our new balance. And you can see in this case, our interest revenue goes down. And then at the end, our accounts will zero out. Here's our journal entries. And then our last one. And that ends this presentation, part 4 for Chapter 7.